are never alone, my child. Before this day quietly fades into the stillness of night, come and rest for a little while. The world has asked many things of you today. It has asked for your strength, your patience, your attention, and your courage. Perhaps you have given more than you thought you had. Perhaps you smiled when your heart felt weary. Perhaps you carried questions that no one else could see. Now, the day is ending. The noise is growing softer. The hurried footsteps have slowed. The conversations have become distant. The sky has wrapped itself in gentle shades of blue and silver, and one by one, the stars have begun to appear, just as they have for every generation before yours. Tonight, you do not have to hurry. You do not have to prove anything. You do not have to carry tomorrow before tomorrow arrives. Simply be still. Take a slow breath. Allow your heart to become quiet. For tonight, I want to remind you of something that has always been true, even on the days when it felt impossible to believe. You are never alone. There have been moments when you wondered if anyone truly understood the weight you carried. There have been nights when the silence in your room seemed louder than the voices of the day. There have been mornings when getting out of bed required more courage than anyone around you could imagine. Others may have seen your smile. I saw your tears. Others may have heard your words. I listened to the prayers you never found the courage to speak aloud. Others may have noticed your strength. I knew how tired you truly were. Nothing about your life has ever escaped my attention. Not a single heartbeat. Not a single sigh. Not a single quiet hope hidden deep inside your soul. Long before this evening arrived, long before this week, this year, or even your first breath, my eyes were already upon you. Many people imagine that I only draw near during great miracles, during moments when the heavens seem to open and everything changes in an instant. But my child, some of my greatest works happen in the quiet, like the gentle light that slowly fills the horizon before sunrise, like rain that nourishes the earth while most of the world sleeps, like seeds growing beneath the soil where no human eye can witness their silent transformation. Much of what I do cannot be measured by noise. Love rarely announces itself with thunder. More often it whispers. That is why I have asked you to be still tonight, because the quiet places are often where my voice is easiest to hear. Since the beginning of time, people have feared loneliness. Kings have feared it inside magnificent palaces. Shepherds have feared it beneath endless skies. Sailors have feared it while drifting across dark waters. Children have feared it in unfamiliar rooms. Even those surrounded by crowds have sometimes discovered that loneliness can exist where many voices are heard, but very few hearts truly understand. Loneliness has always spoken the same lie. It whispers that you have been forgotten. It tells you that no one notices. It convinces you that your story no longer matters. But lies never become truth simply because they are repeated. Tonight, I want to tell you a different story. It is a story that began thousands of years ago beneath a blazing desert sun. The wind carried fine grains of sand across an empty wilderness. The ground shimmered beneath relentless heat. The horizon stretched endlessly in every direction, offering little comfort to anyone searching for hope. Across that barren land walked a woman named Hagar. Many remember her only briefly. Many pass over her story in only a few moments. Yet heaven never overlooked her. She had known rejection. She had known uncertainty. She had known what it felt like to believe there was no place left to call home. With every step across the wilderness, the burden upon her heart grew heavier. She was exhausted, afraid, unsure where tomorrow's water would come from, unsure whether anyone cared if she survived another day. Have you ever felt something similar, my child? Perhaps not in a desert of sand, but maybe in a desert of the heart. A season where each day felt longer than the last. A season where hope seemed to disappear beyond the horizon. A season where you quietly wondered if anyone truly saw you. Hagar reached a place where her strength could carry her no farther. There, surrounded by silence, She believed she had reached the end of her journey. No crowd gathered around her. No king came searching. No army appeared to rescue her. From every earthly perspective, she was completely alone. Yet heaven told another story. The one who formed the mountains had never lost sight of a single step she had taken. The Creator, who painted every star across the night sky, knew exactly where she sat. Not because she had earned his attention, not because she held great influence, but because she mattered. She always had. In that lonely wilderness, something remarkable happened. God met her, not inside a palace, not before a cheering crowd, not upon a throne surrounded by earthly power. He met her in the emptiness. He met her in the place where hope seemed to have disappeared. And afterward, Hagar spoke words that have echoed through centuries. She called him the God who sees me. Those words remain just as beautiful tonight as they were beneath that ancient desert sky. The God who sees me, not the God who occasionally notices, not the God who remembers only the successful, not the God who loves from a distance, the God who sees, completely, tenderly, constantly. My child, I see you in the same way. I see the dreams you hesitate to share, because disappointment has visited you before. I see the memories you wish you could leave behind. I see the burdens you have carried for so long that they almost feel like part of who you are. I see the kindness you offered when no one thanked you. I see the forgiveness that cost you more than anyone realized. I see every quiet sacrifice. Nothing is hidden from me. Sometimes people believe that if they cannot feel my presence, I must have left. But feelings rise and fall like waves upon the sea. My presence does not. The stars remain above the clouds even when storms hide them from view. The sun continues to shine even while night covers one side of the earth. Likewise, my love does not disappear simply because your heart cannot sense it for a season. There are moments when life becomes so loud that my gentle voice is difficult to recognize. The worries of tomorrow compete with the gratitude of today. Fear speaks quickly. Hope speaks patiently. That is why I ask you again to rest. You were never created to carry every burden by yourself. Even the tallest cedar tree depends upon unseen roots. Even mighty rivers begin as quiet streams. Even the strongest hearts were created to receive love, not merely to give it. Look for a moment at the night sky in your imagination. Picture yourself standing beneath countless stars. Each one shines from an unimaginable distance. Some began their journey toward your eyes long before you were born. Yet tonight, they arrive exactly when you need their gentle light. Creation has always been filled with reminders that my timing reaches farther than human understanding. When you think nothing is happening, entire galaxies continue moving according to my design. When you believe your prayers have disappeared into silence, my purposes continue unfolding beyond what your eyes can presently see. Nothing is wasted. Not your waiting, not your tears, not your questions, not even your loneliness. Because even loneliness can become the place where you discover that I was closer than you ever imagined. Many years after Hagar crossed that wilderness, countless others would discover the very same truth. Prophets, shepherds, fishermen, widows, children, prisoners, travelers, people whose names filled history books, people whose names were remembered only in heaven. Again and again, they learned that my presence often became clearest after every earthly certainty had disappeared. And perhaps that is why this quiet night matters so much. The world finally grows still enough for your heart to listen. You may not have all the answers tonight. You may still carry questions into tomorrow. Some prayers may remain unfinished. Some roads may still disappear into the distance before you. But one truth will remain unchanged. You do not walk those roads by yourself. As this evening becomes deeper and your breathing becomes slower, let these words settle gently within your heart. You are seen. You are known. You are deeply loved. And you are never alone. Tonight is only the beginning of that story. For there is another journey waiting just beyond the quiet of this night, where silence itself will reveal that my presence has never depended upon what your eyes can see. The night has grown even quieter now, my child. Perhaps your breathing has become slower. Perhaps your thoughts have begun to settle like gentle snow upon a peaceful field. Stay with me a little longer. There is something many hearts struggle to understand. There are seasons when my presence feels close enough to touch. Then there are seasons when everything becomes strangely quiet. The prayers are still spoken. The faith remains. The hope has not completely disappeared. Yet the answers seem delayed. The silence grows longer, and the human heart begins to ask a question that has echoed through every generation. Where are you? It is not a question born from rebellion. Often, it is born from exhaustion. There is a great difference. A weary soul does not always need an explanation. Sometimes, it simply needs reassurance. Tonight, let your heart rest in this truth. Silence has never meant absence. The dawn does not arrive all at once. Long before the first ray of sunlight reaches the earth, the morning has already begun. The roots of mighty trees continue growing beneath frozen ground, while every branch appears lifeless. The child sleeping peacefully in a mother's arms cannot see the hands that protect them through the night, yet those hands never leave. So it is with my love. There are moments when you cannot feel it. There are moments when you cannot understand it. But there has never been a single moment when it has departed from you. Many centuries ago, another weary heart struggled beneath the weight of silence. His name was Elijah. People often remember him as a fearless prophet. They remember the fire from heaven. They remember the victory upon Mount Carmel. They remember the courage that stood before kings. But they often forget what came afterward. Great victories do not always prevent great weariness. After the crowds disappeared and the excitement faded, Elijah found himself alone. He fled into the wilderness. The same kind of wilderness where countless people before him had wrestled with fear. He walked farther than he believed he could. Then finally, beneath the shade of a solitary tree, he sat down. His strength was gone. His confidence had vanished. The prophet who had once stood before nations now wished only to rest. Perhaps you have known a weariness like that. Not merely tiredness of the body, but tiredness of the soul. The kind that sleep alone cannot heal. The kind that quietly whispers there is nothing left to give. If so, my child, know that you are not strange. Even those who walked closely with God experienced such moments. Notice what happened next. I did not meet Elijah with condemnation. I did not ask why his faith had become weak. I did not measure him by yesterday's victories. Instead, I cared for him. Food was provided. Water was given. Rest was allowed. Only afterward did the journey continue. There is wisdom in that. Sometimes the holiest thing you can do is simply rest. The world praises constant movement. I understand the value of stillness. The world tells you to become stronger before asking for help. I invite you to come exactly as you are. The world often rewards performance. I have always desired your heart. As Elijah continued his journey, he eventually reached a mountain. There, he waited. A mighty wind swept across the rocks. Yet I was not in the wind. An earthquake shook the ground. Yet I was not in the earthquake. Fire appeared with overwhelming power, yet I was not in the fire. Then came a gentle whisper, and there I was. My child, never assume that I must speak loudly in order to speak clearly. The world surrounds you with endless noise, news, notifications, deadlines, opinions, expectations. Every voice competes for your attention. Yet my voice has never depended upon volume. Love does not need to shout. It simply remains. Have you ever stood beside a quiet lake before sunrise? The surface appears almost like glass. The smallest ripple becomes noticeable. Only in stillness can such gentle movements be seen. The human heart is much the same. When life finally grows quiet, my whispers become easier to recognize. Not because I have come closer, but because the distractions have drifted away. Another man discovered this truth while hiding in caves. His name was David. Before he wore a crown, before songs celebrated his victories, before history remembered him as a king, he spent many nights running. He knew what it meant to feel hunted. He knew uncertainty. He knew loneliness. Imagine those long evenings, a small fire burning low, cold stone beneath him, the sounds of distant footsteps carried by the wind. Tomorrow was uncertain. Safety was never guaranteed. Yet it was during those nights that many of the Psalms were born. Words of fear, words of hope, words of worship. David did not hide his emotions. He brought them honestly before God. He cried. He questioned. He waited. And again, he discovered something remarkable. God had been beside him every step of the journey. Not only inside royal palaces, not only during celebrations, but inside dark caves where no one else knew his name. Perhaps you have your own cave, not one carved from stone, but one built from disappointment, loss, failure, loneliness. Perhaps there are places inside your heart that you rarely allow anyone else to enter. Places where old wounds still ache. Places where forgotten dreams quietly rest. I already know those places, and I am not afraid of them. Nothing inside your heart has the power to drive me away. My love has always entered broken places. That is where hope grows strongest. As the years passed, another disciple would face a different kind of loneliness. Peter had walked beside Jesus. He had witnessed miracles. He had crossed storms. He had spoken with confidence. He believed his faith could never fail. Then came the longest night of his life. Fear overcame courage. 3 times he denied even knowing the one he loved. When morning came, Peter carried a burden heavier than chains. Regret. How quietly regret speaks. It tells you that your mistakes define you. It insists that your failures have become your identity. It whispers that you have walked too far away to ever return. But regret has never been the author of your story. Grace has. After the resurrection, Jesus did not search for Peter in order to shame him. He searched for him because love always goes looking. Beside the Sea of Galilee, morning light danced across gentle waves. A small fire burned upon the shore. Breakfast was waiting. Notice the beauty of that moment. Before restoring Peter's calling, Jesus first invited him to eat. There was no rush, no anger, no humiliation, only love. Patient, steady, unchanging. The same love remains available tonight. Perhaps there are memories you wish you could rewrite, words you wish you had never spoken, decisions you wish you had never made. If only you knew, my child, how many people believe they have wandered beyond the reach of mercy. Yet mercy has always traveled farther than failure. There is no road where my grace cannot find you, no darkness where my light refuses to enter, no silence where my voice cannot reach. Look once more in your imagination. The stars continue shining above the earth. The wind moves gently through ancient olive trees. Somewhere, a shepherd watches over sleeping sheep. A small stream continues flowing through the hills, never hurrying, never stopping. Creation itself lives without anxiety. Each season arrives in its appointed time. Each sunrise appears without fail. The birds do not force the dawn to come. They simply welcome it. You too may rest. You do not need to solve your entire future tonight. You do not need every answer before closing your eyes. You need only enough peace for this moment, and I gladly give it. If your heart still wonders whether I remain near, remember Hagar in the desert. Remember Elijah beneath the tree. Remember David inside the cave. Remember Peter beside the sea. Different lives, different generations, different struggles. One unchanging truth. None of them were ever alone. Neither are you. As this peaceful night continues, hold these words gently within your heart. Silence is not emptiness. Waiting is not abandonment. Stillness is not forgottenness. Even now, while your room grows quiet and your eyes become heavy, my love surrounds you more completely than the air you breathe. Rest now, my child. Tomorrow will bring its own journey, and when the morning finally comes, you will discover that someone has been walking beside you all along. That story is waiting just beyond the first light of dawn. The night is almost complete now, my child. The world outside has become wonderfully still. The stars continue their quiet journey across the heavens. The wind moves gently through the trees. Somewhere, waves touch a distant shore with the same patient rhythm they have kept since the beginning of creation. Everything around you seems to understand the beauty of resting. Perhaps your own heart has become quieter as well. Perhaps the worries that once felt so heavy have begun to loosen their grip, even if only for this moment. Stay with me just a little longer. Before this peaceful night comes to its gentle close, there is one final story I want to leave with you. It is a story about two ordinary people, not kings, not rulers, not famous teachers, simply two travelers walking along a dusty road. It happened shortly after the darkest days Jerusalem had ever known. The city was still carrying the weight of sorrow. The cross stood fresh in people's memories. Hope seemed to have been buried inside a borrowed tomb. Many who had once believed now struggled to understand what had happened. Among them were two disciples traveling toward a small village called Emmaus. The journey was not especially long. Only a few miles separated them from the city they were leaving behind. Yet the distance inside their hearts felt much greater. Every step carried disappointment. Every conversation returned to the same painful questions. They had believed. They had hoped. They had imagined a future that now appeared to have disappeared. Perhaps you know what it feels like to walk such a road. A road where the destination matters less than the weight you carry while traveling. A season where life continues moving forward, but your heart quietly lingers behind. The two disciples spoke honestly with one another. They remembered happier days. They repeated stories they could hardly believe were now over. Their voices carried confusion, grief, uncertainty. The future had become hidden from them. Then something extraordinary happened. Another traveler quietly joined them. He did not arrive with thunder. He did not appear surrounded by light. He simply began walking beside them. Step after step, mile after mile. They welcomed him as another traveler, never realizing who he truly was. It was Jesus. The one they believed they had lost was already walking beside them. What a beautiful mystery. They searched for hope, while hope himself walked beside them. They searched for answers while the author of truth listened to every word. They searched for companionship while they were already accompanied. How often, my child, has the same thing happened in your own life? There were days when you believed you were facing every challenge by yourself. Moments when you whispered into the silence, wondering whether anyone had heard your prayers. Nights when loneliness seemed stronger than faith. Yet all along, I was walking beside you. Not always in ways your eyes could recognize. Not always in ways your heart immediately understood. But faithfully, steadily, lovingly. Just as I walked beside those two travelers, the road to Emmaus was not changed because every question received an immediate answer. It became different because they no longer walked alone. There is a lesson hidden there that many people overlook. My presence is often the answer before circumstances begin to change. The journey becomes lighter, not because every burden disappears, but because love begins carrying the burden with you. Think back over your own life for a moment. There were seasons you believed would never end. There were storms you were certain would overwhelm you. There were losses you wondered if you could survive. Yet here you are, still breathing, still hoping, still listening. Not because you have always been strong, but because you have never truly been alone. There were people I placed in your path whose kindness arrived exactly when it was needed. There were doors that quietly closed, protecting you from roads that would have brought greater sorrow. There were unexpected moments of peace that seemed to arrive without explanation. There were mornings when you somehow found enough strength for one more day. Perhaps you called those moments coincidence. Heaven called them care. Not every miracle announces itself with impossible wonders. Many miracles arrive quietly. A conversation, a sunrise, a comforting embrace, a verse remembered at just the right moment, a stranger's smile, a night's sleep after many restless evenings, a heart that slowly begins to heal. The greatest miracles often grow so gently that only time reveals how extraordinary they truly were. As the two travelers continued toward Emmaus, evening approached. The shadows grew longer. The air became cooler. The ordinary rhythms of another day prepared to end. When they reached their destination, they invited the traveler to remain with them. They shared a simple meal together. Then, in one unforgettable moment, Jesus broke the bread. Suddenly their eyes were opened. At last they recognized him. The one who had walked beside them from the very beginning had never left them. Can you imagine that moment? Every mile suddenly made sense. Every conversation became precious. Every unanswered question found its place inside a much greater story. One of them looked at the other and said that their hearts had been burning within them while he spoke along the road. Only afterward did they understand what had been happening. Sometimes understanding comes later, much later. There are chapters of your own story that may not yet make sense. You may wonder why certain doors closed, why certain prayers seemed delayed, why certain people entered your life only for a season, why some dreams changed shape, why some tears lasted longer than expected. You do not need every answer tonight. You need only this assurance. The same Savior who walked the road to Emmaus still walks beside weary hearts. He has not grown tired. He has not become distant. He has not forgotten the sound of your voice. He knows every road you have traveled. He knows every prayer you have whispered. He knows every fear you have carried into the darkness. And still, he stays. Always. When morning comes, he walks with you. When afternoon becomes busy, he walks with you. When evening grows quiet once again, he walks with you. When joy fills your heart, he rejoices with you. When sorrow visits unexpectedly, he remains beside you. Nothing surprises him. Nothing frightens him. Nothing has the power to separate you from his love. Look once more at the world he has created. The moon faithfully reflects the light it receives. The oceans continue answering the pull placed upon them. The mountains remain where they were spoken into existence. The smallest sparrow rests without wondering whether tomorrow's sky will still belong to it. Every part of creation quietly trusts the one who holds it together. You too may rest. You do not have to carry every uncertainty through the night. Place them gently into my hands. The future does not belong to fear. It belongs to the one who already stands within tomorrow. I was there before you arrived. I will still be there when you awaken. Nothing waiting for you in the coming days will surprise me. Nothing will separate you from my care. As this story draws peacefully to its close, let your breathing become slow and easy. Let every anxious thought drift away like leaves carried by a quiet stream. Allow every burden to become lighter. Allow every fear to become smaller. Allow your heart to remember what it has perhaps always known. You are seen. You are known. You are deeply loved. The deserts of Hagar could not hide her from God. The lonely tree of Elijah could not separate him from God. The dark cave of David could not silence God's promises. The regret of Peter could not overcome God's mercy. The road to Emmaus could not prevent Jesus from walking beside his friends. And neither can anything in your own life keep him from drawing near to you. Perhaps one day, as you look back over your journey, you will recognize countless moments when unseen hands gently guided your steps. You will remember unexpected peace, quiet strength, mercy that arrived without warning, hope that appeared when none seemed possible, and you may softly smile, as those travelers once did, realizing that you had never walked alone, not for a single day, not through a single storm, not during a single silent night. So rest now, my child. Let the worries of today become still. Let tomorrow wait until morning. Close your eyes without fear. Sleep in peace. Sleep in hope. Sleep knowing that the one who created every star above you is watching over you with perfect love. And if, before sleep gently carries you away, you remember only one sentence from tonight, let it be this: you are never alone.